I'm not a cryptid hunter. I'm not a wildlife expert. I'm a 34-year-old software engineer from Grand Rapids who likes backpacking in remote areas to clear my head. Last October, I found something in Michigan's Upper Peninsula that shouldn't exist. It was dying when I found it. Massive chest wound, labored breathing, eyes that tracked me with impossible intelligence. At first it snarled, warning me away. But when I knelt slowly, showed I meant no harm, something changed. It relaxed, like it understood I was there to help in its final moments. I stayed for 3 hours while it died, and in those last minutes, it spoke. Not howls or growls, actual words, broken, struggled, but unmistakable. It told me who shot it. It told me where to find its pack. What it revealed about what's been happening in those woods made my blood run cold. I reported everything. They didn't believe me. But I have the recording. This is what happened. My name is Marcus Webb. I work remotely for a tech company based in Chicago, writing code for financial software. It's good money, but soul-crushing work, endless debugging, pointless meetings, corporate bureaucracy that makes you question why humans evolved language in the first place. I started backpacking about 5 years ago as therapy, basically. My girlfriend left, my father died from a heart attack at 58, and I realized I was spending 16 hours a day staring at screens in a studio apartment that cost too much and felt like a prison. So I bought decent gear, studied wilderness survival, and started taking solo trips into remote areas whenever I could manage time off. Michigan's Upper Peninsula became my go-to destination. Fewer people than popular trails out west, dense forest that feels genuinely wild, and enough remoteness that you can go days without seeing another human. Perfect for someone trying to remember what silence sounds like. I'm not an outdoorsman in the traditional sense. I didn't grow up hunting or fishing. My dad was an accountant. My mom taught elementary school. We took family vacations to Disney World, not national parks. But I learned fast, took courses in wilderness first aid, practiced navigation until I could read topographic maps in my sleep. By October 2023, I'd done maybe 30 trips into various wilderness areas. Nothing extreme, usually 3-4 day loops, staying on established trails or relatively safe off-trail routes. I knew my limits. I wasn't trying to prove anything. I just wanted peace. The trip where everything changed was supposed to be a simple 5-day solo hike through the Ottawa National Forest. Mid-October, perfect weather forecast, stunning fall colors. I'd planned a route that would keep me at least 10 miles from the nearest road at all times, camping at remote sites I'd identified using satellite imagery. I told my roommate Jake where I'd be, left detailed route information, established check-in times. Standard safety protocols. I wasn't reckless. The first 2 days were perfect. Crisp autumn air, vibrant reds and golds in the hardwood canopy, complete solitude. I saw deer, a black bear at a distance, heard coyotes at night, normal wildlife doing normal things. On day 3, October 15, 2023, I deviated from my planned route. There was a limestone ridge system about 2 miles east that I'd noticed on the maps but hadn't prioritized. The weather was holding, I had extra time, and something about the terrain interested me. The ridges created natural shelters, overhangs and shallow caves that would be interesting to explore. That decision changed my life. Looking back, I should have stuck to the plan, should have recognized that the wilderness doesn't reward curiosity. It punishes carelessness. But I didn't know that yet. I was about to learn. October 15, 2023, 2:47 p.m. according to my watch. Temperature around 52 degrees Celsius, partly cloudy, light wind from the northwest. I'd been hiking off trail for about 90 minutes, following the ridge system eastward, when I heard it. Not an animal sound I recognized. Too low to be a deer, wrong pitch for a bear. Something between a groan and a growl, but with a quality that made the hair on my neck stand up. Pain, maybe. Distress. I stopped, trying to locate the source. Sound carries strangely in dense forest, bounces off rock faces, filters through vegetation, arrives from directions that don't match the origin. But it was close, within 100 yards. I considered turning back. Whatever was making that sound was large and hurt, which meant potentially dangerous. Injured animals are unpredictable, but I'm also the kind of person who can't leave suffering alone. It's a character flaw, probably. My ex used to say I had a savior complex. I moved carefully toward the sound, keeping my bear spray accessible, making enough noise that I wouldn't surprise anything. The groaning continued intermittently. Definitely pain. Definitely close. I found it in a natural depression beneath a limestone overhang, partially hidden by fallen logs and dense underbrush. At first, my brain tried to categorize it as something known: a large dog, a wolf, a bear in an unusual position. But the proportions were wrong. It was lying on its side, roughly 7 feet long from head to tail, covered in dark brown fur that was matted with blood. The hind legs were too long, built for bipedal movement. I could see the knee joints were positioned like a human's, not a canine's. The front limbs had hands, not paws, hands. 5 digits with an opposable thumb, fur-covered but unmistakably functional for grasping. The head was the most disturbing part. Wolf-like, yes, but the skull structure was wrong. More domed, shortened muzzle, eyes positioned slightly more forward than a wolf's, suggesting binocular vision like a primate's. Those eyes were open, watching me, amber-colored, fully aware. There was a massive wound in its chest, just below the left shoulder. Gunshot, I realized, entry wound maybe 2 inches across, edges burned from close-range powder discharge. Blood had soaked the ground beneath it, already starting to coagulate. The breathing was labored, shallow, with a wet sound that meant lung damage. This creature was dying. When I stepped closer, it snarled. The sound vibrated through my chest, triggered every primal fear response evolution had wired into me. I froze. Those amber eyes locked onto mine, evaluating, deciding whether I was a threat. I raised my hands slowly, keeping them visible. "I'm not going to hurt you," I said quietly. Stupid thing to say to an animal, but tone matters more than words. "I just want to help." The snarling continued for maybe 10 seconds, then gradually faded. The creature's body language shifted, still wary, but no longer actively threatening, like it had made a decision to trust me, or at least to tolerate my presence. I knelt slowly, maybe 6 feet away, close enough to see details but far enough to retreat if it changed its mind. The wound was bad, fatal, almost certainly. Even if I could get it to a veterinarian, which was impossible for about a dozen reasons, the damage was too severe. Lung punctured, probably major blood vessels compromised. This creature had hours at most. "Who did this to you?" I whispered. The amber eyes blinked slowly, and I swear to God, there was understanding in that look, not animal comprehension, something deeper. Intelligence that recognized the question, even if it couldn't answer. I pulled out my phone. No service, obviously. I was 12 miles from the nearest tower, but I started recording video anyway. Whatever this was, I needed documentation, proof that I wasn't hallucinating. The creature watched the phone with what looked like curiosity. Its breathing was getting worse. The wet, rattling sound intensified. Time was running out. "I'm going to stay with you," I said. "You shouldn't die alone." I don't know why I said that. Maybe because I'd watched my father die in a hospital room, surrounded by machines, but fundamentally alone in his fear. Maybe because this creature's eyes held something I recognized, awareness of its own mortality. The creature made a sound, not a growl, something softer, almost like acknowledgement. I settled into a more comfortable position and prepared to wait. For the first hour, we just existed in proximity. The creature breathed in labored cycles, occasionally shifting position slightly, always keeping those amber eyes on me. I stayed still, talking occasionally in low tones about nothing important. The sound of a human voice seemed to calm it. The wound continued bleeding, but slower now. The body was shutting down, redirecting resources to core functions, abandoning the periphery. I'd seen similar patterns in wilderness first aid training, the cascade of system failures that precedes death. I tried to estimate what this creature was. The canid features suggested wolf ancestry, but the skeletal structure was all wrong. The hands alone ruled out any known species. And the skull? I kept coming back to that skull. Too much room for brain matter, too many markers of higher cognitive function. Around the 90-minute mark, the creature moved. Not much, just shifted one of those impossible hands toward me. The gesture was unmistakable. Reaching. I hesitated. Those fingers ended in claws that could disembowel me with one swipe. But the movement was weak, deliberate, non-threatening. I extended my own hand slowly, stopping just short of contact. The creature closed the distance. Its hand, I couldn't think of it as a paw anymore, wrapped around mine. The grip was gentle despite the obvious strength in those fingers. Warm. The fur was coarse, but not unpleasant. We stayed like that for several minutes, a dying creature and a human stranger holding hands in the wilderness like it was the most natural thing in the world. "I'm sorry this happened to you," I said. "I'm sorry I can't fix it." The amber eyes blinked slowly. The breathing degraded further. I could see it struggling now, each inhalation requiring visible effort. The end was close. Then it made a sound I'll never forget. Not a growl, not a whine, something in between, a vocalization that carried structure, pattern, almost like language? I leaned closer. What? The sound repeated. Definitely purposeful. Definitely attempting to communicate something specific. The mouth was moving in ways that suggested it was trying to form shapes its anatomy wasn't built for. "I don't understand," I said, feeling helpless. The creature's grip on my hand tightened slightly. Frustration, maybe, or urgency. It was trying to tell me something important and running out of time to do it. I pulled my phone closer, making sure the recording was still running. "I'm listening. Take your time." The creature drew a shuddering breath, clearly summoning remaining strength. Then it spoke. Not clearly, not easily, but unmistakably words. "Men," it said. The word was rough, forced through a vocal tract that wasn't designed for human speech, but it was recognizable. "Men shot." My hand started shaking. This was impossible. Animal vocal anatomy can't produce human speech sounds. The tongue, palate, larynx, all wrong. But I just heard it. "Men shot you?" I asked, needing confirmation that I wasn't hallucinating. "Yes." Clearer this time. The creature was learning, adjusting, finding ways to force its biology to do something it shouldn't be able to do. "Who? Hunters?" The amber eyes held mine. "Not hunters, not accident." My blood went cold. "Someone shot you on purpose? Someone who knew what you were?" "Yes." "Why?" The creature's breathing was becoming erratic, consciousness flickering. It was losing the fight, but it forced out more words, each one clearly agonizing. "Taking young, taking pack for study." I sat there processing what I'd just heard while the creature's breathing continued to deteriorate. Someone was capturing these creatures, taking them for study, and they'd shot this one. Why? Escaped? Resisted? "Where?" I asked. "Where are they taking your pack?" The creature's hand tightened on mine again. Urgency. It knew it was running out of time. "North," it managed. 20 miles. Bunker. Old. Military. I knew what it was talking about. The Upper Peninsula had several decommissioned military installations from World War II and the Cold War era. Most were abandoned, but some had been purchased privately. Which bunker? What's it called? No. Name. Grid. The creature paused, struggling. 4, 7, 3, 2, 9. I grabbed my GPS unit with my free hand, entered the coordinates. The location popped up, a remote area in Baraga County, maybe 23 miles northeast of my current position. Middle of nowhere, no roads within 5 miles. How many, I asked. How many of your pack did they take? 4, young. 1s, children. Jesus Christ. How long ago? 3 days? Who are these men? Government? Scientists? The creature made a sound that might have been a laugh if it had come from a human. Dark, bitter. Both, neither. Men who want to know. Want to own. Want to prove. Its breathing was failing fast now, the pauses between breaths lengthening, the amber eyes starting to lose focus. I'll find them, I said, knowing it was a crazy promise, but unable to stop myself. I'll document what's happening there. No! The word was forceful despite the creature's weakness. Dangerous. They kill, cover up, many times before. How many times? Years. Many years. We hide, they hunt, find us, take us, study, kill. Each word was separated by labored breathing. Never stop. Then what do you want me to do? The creature was silent for a long moment. I thought maybe it had lost consciousness. But then those amber eyes focused on me one more time. Witness, it said, remember, tell, truth, not monster, not animal, people. We are people. The simplicity of that request destroyed me. This dying creature didn't want revenge, didn't want rescue, just wanted someone to acknowledge its personhood, to remember it had existed, had mattered. I will, I said. I promise. I'll tell them you're people. The creature's eyes held mine for several more seconds. Then something shifted. A release, acceptance. Name, it said, barely audible. My name, Gray Walker. Remember, name. Gray Walker, I repeated. I'll remember. Pack, tell, pack. If you find, tell them. Gray Walker fought, did not surrender. I will, I promise. The breathing stopped, restarted, stopped again for longer. The hand in mine went slack. Gray Walker? I said quietly. No response. The amber eyes were still open, but no longer seeing. The chest gave one final rise, held for a moment, then settled into stillness. Gray Walker was dead. I sat with the body for another hour, partially from shock, partially from respect, partially because I had no idea what to do next. My phone had recorded everything, the conversation, the final moments, all of it. Proof that would either change everything or get me labeled as a crazy person who'd staged an elaborate hoax. The rational part of my brain was screaming that what I'd just witnessed was impossible. Animal vocal anatomy cannot produce human speech. Cognitive complexity required for language doesn't exist outside humans, and maybe some great apes in controlled conditions. This violated everything biology understood about evolution, neurology, communication. But I'd heard it, recorded it, held this creature's hand while it died, asking me to remember its name. Finally, I forced myself to move. I took measurements with a tape measure from my pack. Body length, 7 feet 3 inches from crown to base of tail. Height at shoulder when positioned in what I estimated was standing posture, approximately 6 feet 8 inches. Estimated weight, 280-320 pounds based on body mass. I photographed everything, the hands showing clearly defined fingers with opposable thumbs. The feet structured for bipedal walking with a plantigrade stance like humans, not digitigrade like canines. The skull structure, the wound. The gunshot wound was particularly telling. Entry point suggested the shooter had been positioned higher, in a tree stand maybe, or on elevated terrain, close range based on powder burns, deliberate aimed shot, not a hunting accident, assassination. I collected hair samples, storing them in Ziploc bags I normally used for food storage. When people questioned my story, I'd need every piece of physical evidence I could provide. Then I faced an impossible decision. I couldn't carry a 300-pound body 12 miles through rough terrain. Couldn't leave it exposed where scavengers would destroy the evidence. Couldn't report the location without cell service. I settled on documentation and burial. I spent another 2 hours digging a shallow grave using my camp trowel and flat rocks, covering Gray Walker's body with earth and stones. I marked the location on my GPS, took reference photos of the surrounding terrain. Before I covered the body completely, I said a few words. Not religious. I'm not a believer. Just acknowledgement. Gray Walker, you existed. You were a person. You mattered. I'll make sure people know. Then I buried him and tried to figure out what to do next. The coordinates he'd given me were 23 miles northeast, the bunker where his pack was supposedly being held. 4 young ones, he'd said. Children, taken 3 days ago. The smart move was to hike back to civilization, report everything to the authorities, let them handle it. That's what a rational person would do. But Gray Walker had specifically warned me. These people killed, covered up, had been doing it for years. If I went to local police with a story about talking cryptids and secret research facilities, I'd be dismissed at best, involuntarily committed at worst. I needed proof, more than recordings and hair samples. I needed evidence that would be undeniable. I checked my supplies, 4 days of food remaining, water purification tablets. Full first aid kit. I was equipped for backcountry travel, 23 miles through rough terrain. Maybe 2 days of hiking if I pushed hard. I made the decision. I'd go to the coordinates, document whatever I found there, then get back to civilization with enough evidence that someone would have to take me seriously. Looking back, that was probably the stupidest decision of my life. But I'd made a promise to a dying person, creature, whatever. And I don't break promises. I started hiking north. The next 36 hours were the most grueling of my life. The terrain between Gray Walker's grave and the coordinates he'd given me was brutal. Steep ridges, dense undergrowth, seasonal streams swollen from recent rain. No trails, no easy routes. I pushed through exhaustion and fear. Driven by the promise I'd made and the growing certainty that I'd stumbled into something far bigger than I could handle. Every few hours, I'd stop to review the recording on my phone, making sure it was real, that I hadn't imagined the whole thing. But there it was, Gray Walker's voice, rough and struggling, but unmistakably forming words. We are people. I reached the coordinates on the afternoon of October 17th. The location was a small valley between 2 ridges, heavily forested, completely invisible from any established trail or road. I approached carefully, using binoculars to scan the area before getting close. The bunker was partially underground, built into the base of the southern ridge. Concrete walls, weathered by decades of exposure, overgrown with vegetation, but still structurally sound. There were newer additions, a steel door that looked recently installed, security cameras mounted on poles, solar panels providing power. This wasn't abandoned. Someone was actively using this facility. I circled the area at a distance, documenting everything with photos and video. There were 2 vehicles parked near the entrance, a white panel van and a black SUV, both with mud-covered license plates. Deliberate concealment. As I watched from a concealed position about 200 yards away, 2 men emerged from the bunker, both dressed in unmarked tactical gear, black cargo pants, field jackets, no identifying patches or badges, both armed with rifles. They were talking too far away for me to hear clearly, but their body language suggested routine patrol rather than heightened alert. They weren't expecting trouble. I stayed hidden, observing for 3 hours. During that time, I saw 4 different individuals, 3 men, One woman, all dressed similarly, all armed. They moved with military precision, suggesting training. Around 5 p.m. I heard it, a sound that made my blood run cold. Howling, but not wolves. The pitch was wrong, the complexity too advanced. These were vocalizations with structure, pattern, meaning, communication. It was coming from inside the bunker. The armed guards didn't react, suggesting the sounds were normal to them. Expected. Gray Walker had been telling the truth. His pack was here, being held in that facility. I needed to get closer. I waited until after dark. The facility had external lighting, but it was minimal, just enough to illuminate the immediate entrance area. The surrounding forest remained dark. I moved carefully, using night vision mode on my phone camera to navigate. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than stumbling around blind. I approached from the western side, where the terrain provided better cover. The vocalizations from inside the bunker continued intermittently. Sometimes single calls, sometimes what sounded like responses. Conversation. I got within 50 yards of the structure before I found something that changed everything. A clipboard, partially hidden under a tarp near a supply stack. I almost missed it, but the corner was visible, reflecting my phone's light. I grabbed it, retreating back into cover before examining the contents. It was a research log, handwritten notes documenting observations. I photographed every page, hands shaking as I processed what I was reading. Subject A, juvenile male, approx. 4 years, responding to verbal commands in English. Comprehension estimated at 60-70% of adult human level. Tool use observed. Used metal rod to attempt lock manipulation. Recommend increased sedation protocols. Subject B, juvenile female, approximate 3 years, highly aggressive toward staff, multiple escape attempts. Vocalizations suggest communication with other subjects. Recommend isolation. Subject C, juvenile male, approximate 5 years. Most docile of current group. Shows attachment behavior towards subject D, possible sibling relationship. Could be leveraged for behavioral control. Subject D, juvenile female, approx. 5 years. Protective of subject C. Demonstrated problem-solving skills. Dismantled cage latch using only observation, no prior exposure. Intelligence markers exceed previous specimens. The notes went on. Feeding schedules, sedation dosages, behavioral observations, all clinical, all treating sapient beings like laboratory animals. Then I found the section that made me want to vomit. Specimen termination protocols. Following complete data collection, subjects to be euthanized via pentobarbital overdose. Tissue samples to be preserved for genetic analysis. Skeletal structure to be documented and stored. Disposal of remains via incineration. Standard protocol to prevent discovery. They were planning to kill them, study them until there was nothing left to learn, then destroy the evidence. I photographed everything, making sure the images were clear enough to read. Then I carefully replaced the clipboard and retreated to my original observation position. I had evidence now. Proof of illegal captivity, at minimum, possibly kidnapping, if Gray Walker's people qualified as persons under the law. Definitely ethical violations that would end careers. But I needed more. I needed faces, names, organizational affiliation. I settled in to watch and wait. Around 11 p.m., something changed. Raised voices from inside the bunker, shouting. Then that distinctive howling again, but more urgent. Distressed. The door burst open. 3 people emerged, 2 men dragging a 4th figure between them. The figure was struggling, making sounds that were definitely not human, but carried unmistakable emotion. Fear, pain, desperation. I zoomed in with my phone camera, recording everything. The struggling figure was one of them, one of Gray Walker's people. Smaller than Gray Walker had been, juvenile, matching the log's descriptions. Maybe 5 feet tall, covered in lighter brown fur. Clearly injured based on the way it was moving. They dragged it to the van, forced it inside. One of the men, tall, maybe 40s, dark hair, turned to address someone still in the doorway. "This one's too aggressive. We've gotten what we need. I'm taking it to the secondary site for termination." My blood turned to ice. They were going to kill it. Right now, because it was inconvenient. The woman in the doorway nodded. "Document everything. We need tissue samples before disposal." "Already arranged. I'll be back by Oro 400. The van's engine started. Headlights came on. I made a decision that was probably suicidal. But I couldn't let this happen. Couldn't watch them murder a child, because that's what this was, by any measure that mattered, and do nothing. I ran back to where I'd stashed my pack, grabbed the one thing I'd brought for emergencies, a small air horn, used for scaring off aggressive bears. Then I sprinted toward the van's projected path, positioning myself on the crude access road about 100 yards from the bunker. When the headlights approached, I stepped into the road and triggered the air horn. The sound was deafening in the quiet forest. The van swerved, brakes screaming, sliding to a stop maybe 20 feet from me. The driver's door opened. The tall man stepped out, rifle in hand. "What the fuck? I know what you're doing," I shouted. "I know what's in that bunker. I have recordings, I have evidence, and I've already transmitted it to multiple locations." That last part was a lie. No cell service. But he didn't know that. His expression shifted from confusion to calculation. "Who are you?" "Someone who's going to make sure the world knows what you're doing to them." "Them?" He smiled, not a nice smile. "I don't know what you think you saw, but you're confused. This is a private research facility. You're trespassing." "I have recordings of one of them dying. It spoke to me, told me its name, told me you've been capturing and killing its people for years." The smile disappeared. "That's impossible. I have video, audio, physical evidence, and yeah, I know about the subjects in there. 4 juveniles. You're planning to euthanize them once you're done studying them." His hand tightened on the rifle. "You need to come with me. We can sort this out back at the facility." "So you can make me disappear like you've made others disappear?" "No thanks." We stared at each other across the headlight beams. I could see him calculating, weighing options. Then the back of the van started rocking. The juvenile inside was fighting against restraints, making sounds that were unmistakably screaming. "Let it go," I said. "Let all of them go. Walk away from this, or I swear to God, I'll make sure everyone knows what you've been doing." "You have no idea what you're interfering with," he said quietly. "This research is vital. These creatures could unlock—" "They're not creatures. They're people, and you're kidnapping and murdering children." The van rocked harder. Something metal snapped inside. The man's expression shifted to alarm. "Shit." He started toward the van. The back doors exploded outward. The juvenile burst out, restrained hands clawing at bindings, eyes wild with terror and rage. It saw me, saw the man with the rifle. Made a split-second decision, and ran straight toward me. The juvenile hit me like a freight train, knocking me backward into the brush. I felt claws against my chest, not attacking, just scrambling for purchase, trying to get past me, to escape. Behind us, the man raised his rifle. "Don't move!" I made another stupid decision. I grabbed the juvenile, trying to shield it with my body. "Don't shoot! Get away from it!" "No!" The juvenile was making sounds against my chest, vocalizations that I recognized from the recording. Fear, desperation, but also something else. Recognition? It pulled back slightly, those amber eyes, so similar to Grey Walker's, locking onto mine, and it spoke. Help? Clear? Unmistakable. "Please, help?" I looked at the man with the rifle. "You hear that? It's talking. It's asking for help." "Are you really going to murder something that can do that?" That's not speech, it's mimicry, parroting sounds without comprehension. Bullshit. You know that's not true. Your own research logs document their intelligence. His expression confirmed I was right. He knew, they all knew, and they were doing it anyway. Last warning, he said. Step away, or I'll shoot through you to hit it. The juvenile's claws tightened on my jacket. Please, it said again. Brothers, sisters, inside, help them. My heart broke. I will, I promise, but right now, we need to run. I stood slowly, keeping the juvenile partially behind me. The man tracked us with the rifle. Then headlights appeared from the direction of the bunker. Back up, more of them coming. Run, I told the juvenile. Into the forest. Hide, I'll find you. It hesitated, clearly torn between escape and staying with the only person who'd shown it kindness. Run, I screamed. It ran, disappeared into the darkness in seconds, moving with speed and agility that no human could match. The man started to follow, but I stepped into his path. You'll have to go through me. He reversed the rifle, swung the butt toward my head. I tried to dodge, too slow, felt the impact, then nothing but darkness. I woke up in the bunker. Concrete floor, single light bulb, my hands zip-tied behind my back. My head was pounding where the rifle had connected. Blood had dried on my temple. The woman from earlier was sitting on a folding chair, watching me. You're awake. Good. I tried to sit up, failed, managed it on the second attempt. Where's the juvenile? Where are the others? The others are secured. The one you helped escape is gone. For now. She didn't sound particularly concerned. We'll recapture it eventually. They don't do well alone. You can't keep doing this. Can't we? She smiled. We've been doing it for 17 years, Mr. Webb. She knew my name. Of course she did. They'd gone through my pack. We know who you are, where you live, who you've contacted recently. Your phone is very informative. She held it up. The recording is impressive. Gray Walker, that's what it called itself, right? Very emotional death scene. Almost believable. It was real. You know it was real. What I know is that no one will believe it. A software engineer with a history of depression, yes, we found your prescription records, claims he found a talking cryptid, has convenient recordings that could easily be faked. Some hair samples that could be from anything. No body, since you claim to have buried it in an unmarked grave. She shrugged. You sound insane? I have the research logs, your documentation, proof of what you're doing here. Had, past tense. We have your camera, your phone, all your evidence, which will unfortunately be lost when you have an accident in these dangerous woods. The threat was clear. They were going to kill me. People know where I am, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I filed a route plan. When I don't check in, they'll come looking. In a wilderness area of several thousand square miles, where hiking accidents are tragically common, she stood. I'm sorry it came to this, Mr. Webb. You seem like a decent person, but you interfered with vital research. Work that could revolutionize our understanding of evolution, cognition, human origins, that's bigger than one life. They're not specimens. They're people. That's a matter of perspective. She walked toward the door. I'll give you some time to think. If you're willing to cooperate, sign some documents, accept compensation for your silence. Maybe we can avoid the tragic accident scenario. The door closed. Locked. I was alone in the dark. I don't know how long I sat there. Hours. My hands were going numb from the zip ties. My head throbbed. I tried to work my way free. Failed. Tried again. Then I heard it. Vocalizations from outside. Multiple voices. Complex patterns. Communication. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in red backup lighting. Shouting from somewhere in the facility. Gunshots. More shouting. The door to my cell burst inward, not unlocked, torn off its hinges, and standing in the doorway was the juvenile I'd helped escape. Not alone, with 3 others. They'd come back, freed the others, and come for me. The juvenile approached, those amber eyes recognizing me even in the dim light. It showed me its hands, holding a knife it had clearly taken from one of the guards. "Help you," it said, echoing my earlier promise. "Now I help you." It cut the zip ties. My hands came free, circulation returning in painful tingles. "We go," the juvenile said. "Fast, before more come." "I need my phone, my evidence. It's in this building somewhere." The juvenile made a sound, communication with the others. One of them disappeared, returning 30 seconds later with my backpack. Everything intact. Phone, GPS, camera. "How did you?" "We watch, we learn, they think, we animals. We are not." Pride in that statement. Defiance. We fled into the night, the 4 juveniles moving with coordinated precision that suggested practiced teamwork. I stumbled after them, trying to keep up. Behind us, the facility erupted in chaos. More shouting, vehicle engines starting, searchlights cutting through the forest. We ran for what felt like hours, finally stopped in a ravine several miles away, the juveniles barely winded, while I collapsed against a tree, gasping. The one I'd first helped approached. "You keep promise. You help. We remember." "Where will you go?" I asked. "Others. North. Pack still there. Hidden. We find them." "What about the facility? Those people?" "They come again. Always come. We hide better. Stay quiet. Survive." The juvenile paused. "You tell? Tell humans about us?" I thought about that, about what would happen if I did. Maybe some people would help, but others would hunt, capture, study. The cycle would continue. "I'll tell them you exist," I said carefully. "That you're people, that you deserve to be left alone. But I won't tell them where you are. I won't lead them to you." The juvenile studied me for a long moment, then nodded. "Good. Thank you. Marcus." It knew my name, had heard me addressed or read it somewhere. The intelligence was staggering. "What's your name?" I asked. "Fast River," it said. In our words, different, but in human words, Fast River. "I'll remember Fast River like I remember Gray Walker." Gray Walker was pack elder, teacher. He died brave. He died brave, I confirmed. And he gave me information that helped me find you. Fast River made a sound, mournful but accepting. "We remember him. Tell stories. He is not forgotten." The other 3 approached, each touching my shoulder briefly. Acknowledgement, gratitude. Then they melted into the forest, disappearing so completely it was like they'd never been there. I was alone again, but I had my evidence, and I had a story that needed telling. I made it back to civilization 3 days later, exhausted, dehydrated, but alive. I went straight to the FBI field office in Marquette, demanded to speak to someone about illegal research activities. They were skeptical until I showed them the recordings, the research logs, the photographs, GPS coordinates of the facility. 2 days later, a joint federal task force raided the bunker, found evidence of the illegal detention and study of an unknown species, found records of multiple specimen terminations over 17 years, found everything I'd described. The people running the operation were connected to a private biotech company with government contracts. The investigation expanded, congressional hearings, media coverage, but they never found any living specimens. The 4 juveniles had disappeared completely. And when investigators reached the coordinates where I'd buried Gray Walker, the grave was empty. His people had reclaimed him. The official story became about illegal wildlife research and unethical scientific practices. The recordings of speech were dismissed as possible but unconfirmed. Gray Walker's voice attributed to clever mimicry or the stress of my situation causing me to interpret sounds as words. I was treated as a credible witness who'd uncovered serious crimes, but also someone who'd been through a traumatic experience that might have colored my perceptions. Respectful skepticism. Professional distance. I didn't fight it. The important thing was that the facility was shut down. The people responsible were being prosecuted, and somewhere in the Upper Peninsula, Fast River and the others were reunited with their pack, free and hidden. That's enough. I still have the recordings. The real ones, backed up in multiple encrypted locations. Gray Walker's voice saying, "We are people." Fast River saying, "Now I help you." Someday, maybe I'll release them. Let the world decide what they mean. But for now, I'm honoring a different promise. The one I made to Gray Walker. I remember his name. I witness his existence. I tell the truth. Not monsters, not animals. People. It's been 8 months since that October trip. The criminal cases are moving through the legal system. The facility has been demolished. The company involved is facing hundreds of millions in fines. And I've received 2 pieces of communication that make me certain I made the right choice. The first came in December. I was hiking a trail in the Ottawa National Forest. Different area, daytime, well populated. I found a stack of 3 stones in an unnatural formation beside the trail. Next to it, scratched into the dirt. MW, thank you. FR, Fast River, letting me know they were safe. The second came last month, an envelope in my mailbox with no return address, postmarked from a small town in the UP. Inside was a single photograph. It showed a group of them, adults and juveniles together, in what looked like a natural clearing. Maybe 8 or 9 individuals. Healthy, safe, free. On the back, written in careful but imperfect handwriting, "We are people. We remember." I keep that photograph in a safe deposit box, evidence that I'll probably never share publicly. But I look at it sometimes when I need to remember that I did the right thing. The wilderness holds secrets. Some have teeth, some have voices, and some deserve to stay hidden, protected from a species that has a long history of destroying what it doesn't understand. Gray Walker died asking me to witness, to remember, to tell the truth. I've kept that promise. His people exist. They're intelligent, they're endangered, and they need us to leave them alone. That's the truth. That's my testimony. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure no one else finds what I found in those woods last October. Because some discoveries shouldn't be made. Some people should remain free.